Everybody, my Facebook clansmates. My name is Buumba Malambo, and I'm the counselor for Magoba Ward and also a child activist. And recently, God just spoke to me in terms of, how are we going to help the victims and the survivors of rape and defilement in terms of giving them a voice to speak and to also just inspire so many girls, so many boys out there that are going through this situation, this problem that is now so big in Zambia. And I feel that we should talk about it. It's no longer a taboo. Our girls are dying. I've been privileged to speak to a lot of them, and that's why I've titled my show. It will be an online show. This is the first episode, and it will be an online show titled In the Eyes of the Victim. And today my guest is someone really special, someone really close to my heart, and that's why she's the first person, because I believe God directed me to her. And her name is Priscilla Musonda. She's even done a book. We'll be talking about all those things. And ma'am, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
I just want you to tell us your story, and we just want to hear it from you, from the victim, not these newspapers they write to us, not things they write to us on Google. I want you to tell us. We want to hear from you, from your eyes, and learn from you, and also how we can help so many girls out there that are just sleeping, out there and not really having someone to talk to. Yeah, so that's why we're here at her farm, and it's beautiful, and we are ready to listen to you.
Welcome to Shimabala.
Thank you so much.
Quite peaceful.
Yeah, it is very quiet. Yeah. Lots of birds, lots of fruits.
Oh, talking about my story, I'm feeling numb at the moment, but I think it's something we need to speak out about, and I'm the first person to come out openly in Zambia. When I wrote my book, though people knew about it when I was young, it all started when I was 5. As long as my memory could remember, maybe it could have been area as we are reading things, newspapers that a 3-day-old child was abused by the father. For me, that's the time I could remember, and it was in Tuapia, with the full knowledge of both my parents. What they did with me was, I grew up watching them sexually active, like brainwashing my mind. So I got used to my father's private parts, because whenever they finished doing whatever they were doing, he would lie there naked and let me just play around with him with the full presence of my mother. But what they told me during that time was that it's love. And your parents, they love you trust them. But I was a kid. And as time went by, because I remember very well, by then I didn't start my primary education. So by the time I was starting my first grade, my primary education, I'd already gotten used to sleeping with my father. Around when I was about 11 years, this uncle was a policeman. And somehow I think they sat down as a family during that time, in our era, just after independence. So things were more enclosed in families. They didn't want to talk about it so much. So that's how now I just saw this uncle coming to my mother's house. And by the way, my father was a polygamist, a very prominent person. The first Zambian freelance photographer in Zambia. So this uncle came from Mansa and just came to my mother's house and said, I'm taking you. By then, I think I was somewhere maybe grade 5, grade 6. And I was so much relieved and happy, because I thought this was my rescue. Being a policeman, a man in uniform, and I thought, there's nobody who can go and catch him. But I was lying to myself, because just 2 days when we reached Mansa, my mother flew with my ticket. And they talked, and the next thing I saw was I was called by this uncle, and he said, this is your family story, these are your parents, you can go back with them. with your mother. Back to my abuser. We reached Ndola. By then my mother was in Ndola. My father was now working in Lusaka. He worked for Daily Mail and Times of Zambia, and thereafter he became a freelance photographer. After that, he had a house in Kafue Estates, a flat, where after my uncle's ordeal of trying to rescue me, I was taken to my father because I think he believed my mother didn't protect me by letting me go. But she wasn't there when I left, although she wouldn't have agreed for me to leave with my uncle. So I came to Lusaka. By then it was UBZ, luxury coach. Those are some of the things they'll give you, which I never appreciated, to be honest. And during this ordeal, then my education will be on hold.
Yeah.
I won't be going to school. Then I was locked up for a year in this flat in Kafue. One solid year. And I became a sex slave. I would come, do whatever I wanted, and would go. Until one day, I just said, this is not my life. I wanted to take off my life. I wanted to kill myself. So I got a laser plate and started cutting myself. I don't know if this guy is still visible somewhere. It was being somewhere in my arms. I started cutting myself. So from that time, I think he realized to say, okay, this is not good for her. And he told me, so okay, I'll take...
That was your father?
That is the father I know. That's the father I know. So we went, because he had so many wives, 3 wives, he decided to take me to this other wife who was a nurse, working at UTH. And he told me that I'll continue with my education there. Meanwhile, I became a servant to his wife. In the evening, when she's on night duty, I became a sex slave. Until it came to the knowledge of that woman, because now he took it a step further and started sleeping with regular. So at some point, at a period, I stained the beddings, and he told me to wash them, but they were visible. I pity that woman because she thought if she would have talked to me nicely, I would have told her the truth. But the way she attacked me, like, you are entertaining your father to bring in prostitutes in the house, that hurt me, because it was like she was attacking me direct. And in my senses, I wasn't a prostitute, because to me, she wasn't talking about another different person. It was me who lay in that bed with. So I'd written a letter, I think, and complaining about whatever lifestyle I was living, and just to find a way how these things can come to an end. It never did. And I think that letter he kept it somewhere, and maybe she found it, because what happened was she just approached me this other day and said, I want you to leave. She didn't do anything bad, she didn't say anything bad, she just said, I don't want you here anymore, I want you to leave. And I also thought my father is going to take me to my mother in Ndola. She said, I can never take you to your mother because she's careless, she didn't protect you when your uncle came to pick you up. I'm going to put you in Matero. There was a house he had in Matero. And this is where he put me, in that house. The same thing continued. And eventually I think people started questioning him because he was always moving with me in the vehicle or wherever he's going. He was a very busy person. That time there were Interco companies, and he was more the official photographer for Interco companies. So wherever I was going, most of the time he would be with me. And people now, others who knew that he was my father, started wondering, why do you move with your daughter all the time? Whatever excuses. I don't know. But some people I could hear, they were asking him, and whatever he told them, it's never, I lost count of life. never bothered to me whether people are talking, because I just found that people are not concerned about children's matters. So during that time, I would be in school, it would stop, because I was even one time at Roma Girls, but it didn't last long. I was taken out. Because whatever it was, it became so much addicted to me. Whether about a period or no period is one issue. And during that event, during that time, I just didn't know, because I knew I had no way out. Which led to my becoming pregnant in 1977 with my first child from him. This was in Woodlands Extension where we were living. And there were people who knew, but they never bothered. That's how I came in to take a step of protecting children. And that's why I'm harsh. And that's why I don't fear nobody, fear God. Because if we fear human beings, we're going to lose lives. These are our future leaders. We don't want children to suffer like I went through. So from there, some of my friends would question me, Priscilla, who is your husband? Let me take you back. When I became pregnant, after whatever ordeal, whatever they were doing, together with my mother, with the full knowledge of everybody, even the other wives knew that he was sleeping with me. So he told me to say, you go and look for a man, after he learned that I missed my periods. And I told him, I've missed my periods. And he said, you go and look for a man you can sleep with so that you can say he's the one who impregnated you. But I told them, I recalled their words, and I said, but you are telling me that this is love. And these things happen to children. They use the term to say these houses you see which have got roofs. Under the roof there are so many things that happen to children. And that, to me it was part of love, the family love from my father and my mother, because she was there supporting. So it was more like something natural which happens in any household around. When I had that first child, who looks like him to this day, I started thinking, this is not my destiny. God didn't create me for this. I started running away. Running away with a child. That time we needed nappies, we needed food. I would run away 2-3 days, I would come back. I'd just go and sleep on the station. That time the intercity was in Kamwara. I would just go and stay there just to keep away from there. Sometimes they would think I'm changing the baby's nappy. I would sneak out of the window. That time we didn't have a lot of thieves, So the windows, you just walk out, open the window, jump outside, and you go away. But where am I going to go? Nowhere, because I was still young. I still depended on them. And at this child who depended on me and on them. My sisters turned into my stepchildren. His brothers turned into my in-laws, my Malambos. His wives, we became sisters in marriage. But I never changed calling them, saying they are sisters in marriage, because I didn't accept it. In my mind, I never accepted that this was my destiny. I was always talking to God. I said, you didn't create me for this. I'm created for better things. Not sleeping with my father, sharing the same man with my mother, same house, doing nasty things. No. And that's where I came in. That's where when I got married to my husband, I decided to give back. And I'm going to give back to the same children who are going through what I went through. That's how I started my foundation. Home for abused children. It was a safe home. But again, I didn't like keeping children prolonged like prisoners. When they reach 18, they go back to the very homes where they came from without any justice. I decided to close the house. I decided to close the house because I didn't see anything coming out of it. It was just the same like my story. There was no justice. There's no one who looks back. Nobody looked at me to say, oh, this girl or this young girl or this person had 4 children with the father, disturbed her education, ruined her life. Nobody. What kind of a Christian nation is that?
I cannot believe what I'm hearing, and I'm so privileged to be here to listen. Not reading the book, but to listen as it comes from your heart. And there's really something that has bothered me, where you said your mother, because this is something that really bothered me, for me to start advocating for rape and defilement, because initially I was just advocating for education. Mothers, a lot of mothers, it just throw the issues, down the carpet. And I'm just happy that a lot of people will watch this, and they will really understand that there are a lot of mothers that are doing what your mother did. And I'm so proud of you, Mama, that you are able to tell this story, and I know that it will help a lot of young girls, and also I know that it will help a lot of young women to move away from the hate, and also to help others. So I just want to ask you, what do you think is the role of a mother in this situation? Like, how should a mother, because even as you talk about policemen, I understand what you're saying, because I've been fighting for about 4 girls, and really the police have not really been helpful, and it's difficult for our women to go anywhere. So what do you think is the role of the mothers, in terms of them seeing their husband abusing their own daughter? What do you think is the role?
I don't know if it's the culture, because I don't know it. I've never gone through it, so I don't know their culture. I've never been initiated in all these puberty things and all this. I was more a prisoner, locked up, a sex slave. So I find that the women, so-called mothers like my mother, if they could take a stand, which I took that time to run away from home and go and live on the street, and nothing, because I lost trust in anybody. Because I kept running, going to these relatives. Next day I just see my father standing there coming to pick me. So I took a stand with 4 children behind. I left everything and went to live on the street just to gain my freedom. The challenge with mothers now, they are so much attached to material things. These things come, look at the abundance I have. If I didn't make a step, because there was a man out there for me. There was somebody out there for me. And don't forget to give back. It pays to give. In Zambia, we only give at a funeral. I get fed up. I'm hate. I hated this country from grass. I never wanted to do anything with a Zambian, a so-called Zambian. I'm also Zambian, but I'm a different type of Zambian because of what this country did to me. As me, nobody came to my rescue. I got more hate when I came to launch my book in 2012. When I met people who were telling me that we knew about this when we were just 7. Can you imagine how evil people are? What did they do? Which you and me we are doing here. We don't have anything. We just have a courage. You are not abused, but there you are. You are helping children. Yeah? I didn't just say, now I've got a nice life, let me forget about Zambia. I still came back. And I started the project when I was in Switzerland. I didn't start it here. I just started it. I started writing my book when I was in Switzerland. And I came back to try and work with the system, which doesn't work. For me as a survivor, I don't see any justice. No. Because whatever machines they have for DNA and everything, a child has to walk in a court of law and testify. How can a child testify against the father who threatened him? How can a small child testify against a person when she doesn't even know the word, what sex means? How can you express sex when you doesn't understand it? Children, they understand that as they were hurt by somebody. My father put something in me that hurt me. Now they want a child to go in the court and go and testify and bring witnesses. Where do you see a thief stealing with witnesses? Thank you for giving me the privilege of speaking on behalf of the voiceless.
Thank you so much.
I'll never stop speaking until they lock me up.
Thank you so much. Our last point is, how did you survive? How did you finally have this beautiful life? You have a husband and you have dogs. You have a beautiful home. How did you just come out from this very ugly situation? Because a lot of women ask me in books, like, Honorable, what should I really do? And because I've never advocated for rape and defilement, I tell them, have you gone to the police? They'll tell me, we went to the police, and my mother actually knew about it and they did nothing. And they went to the police and they withdrew this case. And a lot, 100% of them, 95% of them that are writing to me are abused by the fathers, the uncles, the nephews, and I'm really wondering as to how can we help them survive, because we already have these victims. How can we help them survive? I was so shocked. We went to UTH and somehow the document just went missing.
It does.
For one of the girls. And I couldn't believe it, because a lot of people that I felt could help were involved. The ministers, the police, and the child is just out there. The women. And I just want you to tell us how you survived. And also, just a little bit about your kids that you had from your father. Have you explained to them? And finally, about your book. Then I'm sure I would have done a lot to help the girls out there.
How I survived. I took a stand. I made a decision. A life decision whether it will be good or not. Because when you sit, nothing can happen. Our God is a God of action. Without action, nothing is going to happen. So I made a decision. And I remember very well, this was in 1990, 91, when Chilua was coming to power, I think. There was a song that the hours come for change. That was my inspiration. That inspired me. That song inspired me to move on. I even told them, my hours come for change. I was telling my parents. They thought I was joking. I turned it into a song. I'm not saying everybody should turn it, but let them see what can inspire them, what can make them take action. God is a God of love. If you take action against something which is evil, God will open doors for you. And God opened doors for me. And people, that time there were no homes like now. We've got children's homes and everything. Even police where you can police for children. There was nothing. There when I was in the street, I decided to go to the courts, because that's the time they started women in law in Southern Africa. So I went there to the very magistrate. And for your information, my case was under Honorable Chawata. I started going there. I went to other people who helped me. I don't want to mention names because the others are there. One of them is a judge now. He's still a father figure to me. I was helped by this policeman, and Mr. Mdenda is late. I became part of their family. They took me in. And from there, I found my way. Through those people, I had courage, I had the shoulder to lean on. But the challenge we have now, we are so much attached. If somebody gives you a smartphone, everything is fine. I've seen children or victims getting attached to material things. There's so much comparison. Look at me. My beauty was taken. I can buy any wig, but it doesn't give me any joy because inside, I'm a dead person walking. There's no clothes that I can't buy, but it doesn't give me any joy. Where I find the joy is helping survivors of sexual abuse or speaking on their behalf, fighting with the police concerning those cases, and give them hope that it's not the end of life. I've come an inspiration for them as well. I'm urging all those survivors out there, they shouldn't be in the victim role. They should focus. Those who are into education, let them finish their education and move on. They should have dreams. I was dreaming. I knew, I told myself, my husband is not yet born. My husband won't be from here. And it has come to pass. From the streets to Switzerland, because I've seen people whereby those wives who can protect their children, just because they stay in this mansion, which they don't know that child where they are sacrificing could bring them a mansion, a better one. I would never enjoy a meal in a house where my daughter is being abused. Taking you back to my children. I had 3 sons and a daughter. It saddens me because my very daughter was abused at 8 months. I've come an inspiration for them as well. I'm urging all those survivors out there, they shouldn't be in the victim role. They should focus. Those who are into education, let them finish their education and move on. They should have dreams. I was dreaming. I knew, I told myself, my husband is not yet born. My husband won't be from here. And it has come to pass. From the streets to Switzerland, where when I put it in Zambian terms, where money grows on trees, which is not real. They're just hardworking people, which we can also be, because we've got potential here. But we've become so much to be beggars because we are lazy. There's a lot of laziness around Zambia. We've become so lazy. I can't put myself there. There are lazy people here in Zambia because I've seen people whereby those wives who can protect their children, just because they stay in this mansion, which they don't know that child where they are sacrificing could bring them a mansion, a better one. I would never enjoy a meal in a house where my daughter is being abused. Taking you back to my children. I had 3 sons and a daughter. It saddens me because my very daughter was abused at 8 months by my stepbrother. She's now late. As if that wasn't enough, she was dragged. You know why? My very children, my relatives knew that we are being born from my father, are called taboo children. They are not accepted by the same people. What kind of a community or country do we live in? Why not put a blame on the perpetrator when he was living and put a blame on innocent souls? They ruined mine and they ruined my children. I lost 2. The other one died when I went to Europe because none of my relatives could take them in, so I left them with friends. As death is, he died. The boy, that was the last one. And then the girl was dragged, she died in 2006. By then I had started the project. May her soul rest in peace. And I've got two. They are living, they are married, I've got grandchildren, stroke. And I've come to write the book, to put things in the open and to break the chain. Because I didn't want this to continue with my children. I denied my husband a child, because I didn't want to bring a child with this story. These cases are bad. That's how I removed my uterus. Because I never wanted to bring any life to connect with this story. I've seen the suffering my children have gone through. As I'm talking to you, even if something happens, we are just the three of us and my husband. And now my grandchildren. They just know me, and maybe from their mother's side, which has also brought issues, because sometimes when they've wrangled with their wives or whatever, it will backfire to the way they were born. So it's a continuation, it's going now to the grandchildren. So my coming out in the open, I didn't want this thing to continue in our family. What I mean by our family, from my children who were born out of this story, and my grandchildren, and those others to come, whatever it will be called. What I've done to them is to try and make them value education, because that's the only thing that will make them survive in this cruel world we live in, particularly our country, Zambia.
Well, thank you so much for having us, Mom. And you've really inspired me personally, and I'm so privileged to have listened from you, from your heart, and I know this story will help a lot of young people. Like you said, I just woke up one morning and I said, this is enough, it's too much, and I don't believe in silence, and I just said the stories need to come out. And I prayed, I asked God, and He directed me to you. And I don't know why, but I know that His will must be done. Thank you so much for having us. And viewers, if you are a victim, if you are a survivor, and you would like us to have your story out there in the open to help other young, because there are so many. As you know, as a country, we just experienced something that was so bad. A 3 days old baby, was raped and they died, and by the father. And we need to speak as a country, and as women, we need to speak up. And if you are a victim or a survivor, and you would like your story to be aired on my show, my online show, please inbox me, and we will come for you. My team, my crew will come for you, and we will shoot the video to inspire others. And this is my mother's book, Priscilla Musonda, and it shows everything, her journey, how she was raped by the father and how she had 4 children by the father. This was incest. It was incest, it was rape, and everything is here. It's a tool, it's a guide for so many survivors and victims to read and understand how you can survive, how you can. I love how she mentions God all the time, how you can, always pray about your situation. And you really need to get this copy if you're a survivor or victim, or you have a child who's been abused. And Mother, do you have something to say about this book?
This is my legacy for this country, Zambia. It might bring some change and be the change to change this life. It will take some time, but it will be there. Even if I'm not around, this book will never perish with me. We need to come up, stand up as survivors, and have a platform where our voice can be heard. That's what I can say to all the survivors out there. As long as you are staying there as a victim, you put yourself in a victim role, you are not going to change anything. It's time we took a stand. With one step, I've already got one.
Yeah. Stolen Childhood. Such a beautiful book. And if you need it, you can inbox Priscilla Musonda, or you can inbox me on Facebook, and we will have it delivered to you. Thank you so much for joining us on my show, In the Eyes of the Victim. We want you to speak. We want the truth to be out there, because nobody can shut your dreams. Nobody can shut your voice apart from yourself. From me and my mother, Priscilla Musonda, it's goodbye.
Bye.
And take a stand.